Hello. Today we have a lecture on organization of motor system and descending tracts. The organization of the motor system in the human beings is divided into two parts. One is motor activities, which are through the spinal motor neuron and their cranial homologues. The pyramidal cells and the other higher centers control the spinal motor neuron and the cranial nerve nuclei, and the motor activity takes place. Second is this is executed by the reflex mechanism, and that is voluntary activation or will is there. One is by reflex mechanism. Suppose someone pinches you, you remove your hand or foot, that is reflex mechanism. Or voluntary, if you want to take away the pain from the table or 500 rupees note from the table, that is voluntary activity. So both are executive motor both are motor activities. The evolution or history of organization of the motor system: in the lower animals, the reflex movements are there, and which are mainly because of the spinal cord. Stereotyped movements are there, running, jumping, etc. Stereotyped movements are there. In the next order of the animals, the corpus stratum is the important center which help in the locomotion, feeding, as well as the defense of the animal. Still in the higher animals, the thalamus and globus pallidus, that is peliostratum, takes over the function. Thalamus receives the sensory impulses and the globus pallidus gives the motor impulses. The thalamus receives the sensation and globus pallidus controls the muscle as well as the viscera of the animal. In still higher animals, the neocortex is developed and that act as a higher centers. The older mechanism is also important and that is present, but now better coordinated and improved because of the neocortex. Neocortex through pyramidal system have a direct motor control. Extrapyramidal system have modulating influences and assist in the execution of the skilled movement. So in human beings, the neocortex is developed and the pyramidal system is there, which directly controls the motor system and the skeletal muscles. But extrapyramidal system also has a modulating influence and assist in the execution of the smooth execution of the skilled movements. Any voluntary activity movement is initiated by extrapyramidal system. The gross synergistic movement of the big muscles and proximal joints takes place with the initiation of the any activity. Next in the level, the pyramidal system finalizes and the act is completed. The contraction of the muscle or the group of muscles in the distal part of the limb, these are controlled by the pyramidal system. Motor nerve activities. The motor nerve activity is there, and these motor neurons motor nerve activity, neurons which has the motor activity are called as motor neurons. Depending on the locations, these motor neurons are divided into upper motor neurons and lower motor neurons. The upper motor neurons are cortical neurons in the cerebral cortex and the neurons in the subcortical areas and the brain stem. They send the impulses to the lower motor neuron. The lower motor neuron is the anterior horn cell of the spinal cord and their cranial homologues, that is in the cranial nerve nuclei and anterior horn cells. These are acting as a lower motor neuron. They directly supply to the muscles, skeletal muscles, smooth muscles and the glands, and have a direct control over them. Then descending tracts, the pathway of the pyramidal system are also called as the pyramidal tract. This is also called as the great motor pathway. It arises from the motor areas of the brain and ends in the lower motor neurons of the brain stem or the spinal cord. The pyramidal swellings are there formed by this tract in the medulla oblongata. So this is also called as pyramidal tract because of these swellings. These have two types of the fibers: corticobulbar fibers, which starts from the upper motor neuron and end in the brain stem area from where the cranial nerve arises. So these are the corticobulbar fibers. Second is corticospinal fibers, which arise from the motor area of the brain and they end in the anterior horn cells of the spinal cord ultimately. The nature of fibers is that 80% of the fibers are fine and myelinated. They are having 3 micron in diameter and they are slow in conduction. The origin of these fibers: most of the fibers originates from the pyramidal cells of the different sides. Bed cells are the larger cells which are present in the fifth layer of the cerebral cortex. Most of the fibers arise from area 4, but some of the fibers arise from the prefrontal area, that is area 6 and 8, and some of the fibers arise from sensory area 3, 1, 2, as well as the parietal area 5 and 7. So most of the fibers arise from motor area 4, but the other areas also contribute to the origin of these cells, fibers. Cortical localization of the motor system or the motor neurons. These motor neurons are disposed in the cortex, in the precentral gyrus and adjacent paracentral lobule. The body is represented in the precentral gyrus in the upside down position. From below upwards, the representation of the head is there, then upper limb is there, then trunk is there, lower limb is there. In the paracentral lobule, the knee joint and below lower limb below the knee joint and urinary bladder and rectal reflexes are there in the paracentral lobule. So the body is represented here in the cortex upside down. After arising from the cortex, the corona radiata is there, that is fibers which are widely spread in the cerebral cortex arising from areas 4, 6, 8 as well as 1, 2, 3, 5 and 7. These fibers converge to the internal capsule, and from internal capsule they form the compact band which occupies the genu as well as anterior 2/3 of the posterior limb of this internal capsule. This in the internal capsules, if you see from the back, the fibers arranged are the first fibers from back to forward are fibers for eyes, muscles, then upper limb, then thorax and then lower limb. In the midbrain, these pyramidal fibers occupy the middle 3/5 of the crux cerebri. In the next lower part, if it descends downwards in the pons, this is spread out into the discrete bundles in the lower pons. And in medulla, these fibers converge to form the bundle, and a small swelling is there which is called as pyramidal bundle or pyramidal tract. And in the lower part of the medulla, after forming this pyramidal tract, 80% of the fibers cross over or decussate to the opposite side. So this is 80% of the fibers form the cross pyramidal tract, and 20% of the fibers do not cross on the outer side, and these are the uncrossed pyramidal tract. These descend directly into the spinal cord. In the spinal cord, the crossed fibers form the lateral funiculus or lateral corticospinal tract present in the lateral funiculus. So 80% of the fibers which are crossed in the lower part of the medulla cross over to the lateral funiculus or lateral white column of the spinal cord, and they form the lateral corticospinal tract fibers coming from the cortex and reaching finally to the anterior horn cells of the spinal cord. The direct pyramidal tract includes the ventral funiculus or the anterior funiculus, and this contains the ventral corticospinal tract, and this consists of only 20% of the fibers which are uncrossed in the lower part of the medulla. Where these fibers go, From this pyramidal tract, 55% of the fibers end in the upper limb, 20% in the trunk, and 25% in the lower limb. Where does these fibers terminate? The fibers terminate in the two groups. One is corticobulbar fibers. These corticobulbar fibers end in the motor neurons of the cranial nerves. These corticobulbar fibers end in and around the brain stem near the motor cranial nuclei of the cranial nerves, from where the cranial nerves arise. The second group of the fibers form the corticospinal tract, which end finally into the anterior horn cells. They may end directly into the anterior horn cells or through interneurons, and they control the anterior horn cell, which are called as lower motor neurons. The function of this pyramidal tract is useful for skillful and fine voluntary activities. You are doing writing something, or you are drawing something, you are drawing rangoli, then these skillful fine movements are because of this pyramidal tract. Second is, it controls the distal muscles of the joints. The joints, small joints of the fingers, and the muscles which are present there in the distal part of the body are controlled by this pyramidal tract. Because of this pyramidal tract, it gives precision, accuracy, and fineness of the movement. This precision, accuracy, and fineness of movement are required for doing some fine work, painting work, or some any other fine work. So precision, accuracy, and fineness of the movements of the small distal joints are because of this pyramidal tract. And the last function is that this also influences the spatial reflexes. This you can see from the uppermost part, the motor cortex is there. From area 4, 6, 8, 1, 2, 3, and 5 and 7. The fibers radiate from there and they converge to the point from where they pass through the internal capsule. After passing through the internal capsule, they pass through the midbrain, pons, medulla, and then to the spinal cord. You can see the part of that ends near the cranial nerve nuclei in the midbrain, pons, and medulla, that is corticobulbar fibers, and some of the fibers going downwards to the spinal cord, that is corticospinal tract. The corticospinal tract, again, some of the fibers, 20% of the fibers directly going, that is uncrossed or ventral corticospinal tract. 80% of the fibers cross over in the lower part of the medulla and they reach through the lateral funiculus as lateral corticospinal tract. In this diagram, again, you can see the fibers from the cortex which are arising, the fibers for hand, finger, face, and tongue from the lower side. From the upper side, the thigh and trunk is there, and inside the central sulcus, the lower limb fibers arise, and these fibers converge to the internal capsule, then passes through the middle two-thirds of the crux cerebri in the midbrain. From the midbrain, these descend downwards into the pons. In the lower part of the pons, they form the discrete bundles. You can see the images of discrete bundles in the pons here. From discrete bundles, they again descend downward in the towards the medulla, and in the medulla they form the pyramid-like structure, slight elevated structure, pyramid. In the pyramid, they form the swelling-like structure, and in the lower part of the medulla, 80% of the fibers cross over to the opposite side, and then they descend downwards into the lateral white column as lateral corticospinal tract. The 20% of the fibers descends directly from the medulla without crossing, and they descend in the anterior funiculus or anterior white column of the spinal cord that forms the ventral corticospinal tract. So both ventral corticospinal tract carrying 20% uncrossed fibers and lateral corticospinal tract carrying 80% of the crossed fibers reach downward to the anterior horn cells. From the lateral horn cells, most of the fibers end in the interneurons. Then these interneurons connect these cells to the anterior horn cells. So directly or indirectly, this corticospinal tract carries the fibers from the cortex motor area to the lower motor neuron in the spinal cord, that is anterior horn cells. Some of the fibers from this has ended into the medulla oblongata, pons and the adjoining areas. These are the corticobulbar fibers which end into the nuclei of the cranial nerves, from where the cranial nerves arise. Here again you can see the pyramidal tract arising from the cortex, then forming the internal capsule, then passing through the pons, medulla, midbrain, pons, medulla, and 80% of the fibers crossing in the medulla as a dark green color you can see, and going as a ventral ventral or posterior corticospinal tract, and 20% of the direct pyramidal tract passing through the anterior white funiculus to the spinal cord, ending ultimately into the anterior horn cells. Here again the same diagram is there. The fibers arising from the cerebral cortex, passing through the internal capsule, then midbrain, pons, and finally to the spinal cord. Lesions of this pyramidal tract may cause loss of movements, loss of superficial reflexes is there, altered plantar response is there. The plantar response is normally the plantar flexion, but here if the lesion of the pyramidal tract is there, that will give extensor response, and that is called as Babinski sign. In the associated extrapyramidal lesion is there, then increased tone is there, and exaggerated deep reflexes or increased deep reflexes are there. Next is extrapyramidal pathway. This is the multi-channel pathway, that is the alternate mechanism for voluntary and reflex activities that work in collaboration with the pyramidal system. This is the older pathway, pyramidal system is the newer pathway. This older extrapyramidal system is the multi-channel pathway, that is alternative mechanism for voluntary and reflex activities. This work in collaboration with the pyramidal system. The extrapyramidal system in the cortex, the different areas which contains this extrapyramidal system of the cortex are area 6, area 4 and 5, area 22, then area 8 conjugate, area 8 for conjugate deviation of the eyes, area 13 for respiration, area 19 for constriction of the pupil. The extrapyramidal system in the subcortical cell stations. Subcortical cell stations for extrapyramidal system. In telencephalon, there is caudate nucleus which consists of the putamen, lentiform nucleus, globus pallidus and amygdaloid nucleus. In the diencephalon, subthalamic body of Leys is there. In the midbrain, a red nucleus is there from which the orobrospinal tract arises. In the midbrain again substantia nigra is there, reticular formation is there or reticular nuclei is there. In the hindbrain, in the pons, the pontine nuclei is there, reticular nucleus is there. In the medulla, the reticular nucleus is there. Along with that, the olivary nucleus and vestibular nucleus is there. And in the cerebellum, cerebellar nuclei are there. From all these areas, the fibers go downwards to the spinal cord for extrapyramidal system. The primary pathway for extrapyramidal system consists of the two systems. One is corticostriatonigral tract. Unconscious cortical extrapyramidal impulses to the lower centers for tone and postural adjustment pass through the corticostriatonigral tract. The second is the corticopontocerebellar tract. Corticoponto, that is pons and cerebellar tract, that carries the conscious cortical extrapyramidal impulses to the lower center, integrating the smooth movement of the muscles. Then pathway connecting the lower centers to the spinal motor neuron. They pass through the anterior gray column of the spinal cord mostly. These are the rubrospinal tract, olivospinal tract, tectospinal tract, vestibulospinal tract, and reticulospinal tract. Pyramidal system consists of the pyramidal tract. Extrapyramidal system consists of these tracts, that is rubrospinal, olivospinal, tectospinal, vestibulospinal, and reticulospinal tract. The rubrospinal tract arises from the red nucleus. The fibers immediately cross over to the opposite side, passing through the medulla and pons. Some of the fibers going to the cerebellum, and then the fibers go to the spinal cord through the lateral funiculus, and they enter over the interneurons at the base of the anterior horn cells and communicate with the horn cells, anterior horn cells. Second is olivospinal tract. The fibers arise from the inferior olivary nucleus of the medulla oblongata. They pass through the lateral funiculus to the spinal cord, finally to the anterior gray column or anterior horn cells. These carry the extrapyramidal system. The thalamic impulses pass through the thalamo-olivary tract, and these thalamo-olivary tract impulses, which are conveyed to the olivary nucleus of the medulla, are carried by olivospinal tract, finally from olivary nucleus of the medulla to the anterior horn cells in the anterior gray column in the spinal cord. Next is tectospinal tract. Superior and inferior quadrigeminal bodies decussate with the fibers of the opposite sides, and the fibers, after passing to the opposite side arising from the quadrigeminal bodies, pass through the medulla and pons and finally enter the spinal cord in the anterior and lateral column. Anterior, and finally they have a contact with the anterior horn cells and mainly in the cervical region. The superior colliculus is responsible for spino-visual and visio-spinal reflexes. Inferior colliculus is responsible for the auditory reflexes. Then vestibulospinal tract, the efferent pathway which carries equilibratory reflexes of the 8th cranial nerve through lateral vestibular nucleus from pons and medulla. The vestibular nucleus, the fibers arise. They pass through the anterior column of the spinal cord, descend downwards to the anterior horn cells. The medial and lateral vestibulospinal tract are there, and they carry the cerebellar impulses from vestibular nucleus, and they are responsible for maintenance of the muscle tone as well as muscle posture. So extrapyramidal system, vestibulospinal tract carrying fibers from the vestibular nucleus in the medulla to the spinal cord. They carry the cerebellar impulses which are passed from the cerebellum to the vestibular nucleus, and these fibers are carried to the anterior horn cells which controls the muscle tone and the muscle posture. These are the subnuclear centers, subcortical centers you can see from where the extrapyramidal tract arise. You can see the uppermost red nucleus is there. Rubrospinal tract arises from here. Then superior and inferior colliculus are there. The tectospinal tract arises from here. Then reticular formation in the midbrain, pons, medulla oblongata is there, from which the reticulospinal fibers arise. Then inferior olivary nucleus is there, from which the olivospinal tract arises. Then vestibular nucleus is there in the medulla, from which the vestibulospinal tract arises. So these are the subcortical nuclei which carry the extrapyramidal impulses from the red nucleus, tectum of the midbrain, reticular formation, inferior olivary nucleus, and vestibular nuclei. They arise from here. All of the impulses passing through the lateral column or anterior column, reaching ultimately the anterior horn cells in the spinal cord in the anterior gray column, and these carries the extrapyramidal impulses from the subcortical centers toward the anterior horn cell. This is again, you can see the tectum of the midbrain, then tectospinal tract is arising here, which is shown in the green color. Then you can see the vestibular nucleus, violet color, from which the vestibulospinal tract arises. In the center, in the dark area in the center, reticular formation is there, from which the reticulospinal tract arises. So these are the extrapyramidal descending tracts. Then reticulospinal tract. This reticulospinal tract arises from the formatio reticularis in the brain stem. The brain stem contains reticular formation from which the fibers arise. The fibers descends through the anterior and lateral funiculus and as a anterior and lateral reticulospinal tract, and finally end in the interneurons which communicate it with the anterior horn cells. Medial reticulospinal tract, crossed fibers are there which goes directly through the anterior funiculus or anterior white column. In the lateral reticulospinal tract, uncrossed fibers are there which passes through the lateral white column or lateral funiculus, ultimately in the spinal cord to the anterior horn cell. If you see the functions of this reticulospinal tract, the reticulospinal tract have many functions. One is it facilitate or inhibit the reflexes. The reflexes are there because of the pyramidal system, but that control of reflexes is there with the extrapyramidal system that can facilitate the reflex, increase it, or that can inhibit the reflex. Then gamma cells in the anterior horn cells, they adjust the threshold of the muscle spindles and the receptors, and these gamma cells are again controlled by this extrapyramidal system, that is reticulospinal tract. Then regulation of autonomic nervous system is there by reticulospinal tract. The reticulospinal tract also controls the phases of inspiration and expiration in the respiratory cycle. They also controls the pressure and depressor property of the cardiovascular system. So they can increase the heart rate or they can decrease the heart rate. So they control the respiration, they control the cardiovascular system, they control the autonomic nervous system, they control the gamma cells in the anterior gray column of the spinal cord, and they can facilitate or inhibit the reflexes. So these are all functions of the reticulospinal tract. This is the reticulospinal tract arising from the reticular formation in the midbrain, pons and medulla. Some of the fibers crossed, some of the fibers uncrossed, ultimately controlling the anterior gray column, the anterior horn cells. Here you can see the first one, the pyramidal tract. These are the all descending tracts. Pyramidal tract you can see arising from the cortex in the dark chocolate color or brown color, and these after arising from the cortex, passing through the internal capsule, then passing through the midbrain, pons, medulla. In the medulla, most of the fibers cross over, 80% of the fibers cross over to the opposite sides, 20% of the fibers passing downward directly as uncrossed fibers. This is pyramidal tract. The other tracts you can see is the green color. You can see the pontine nuclear, the medullary reticular formation you can see, the vestibular nuclei you can see in the blue color. So all these are extrapyramidal tracts arising from red nucleus, that is rubrospinal tract, arising from the reticular formation, reticulospinal tract arising from vestibular nuclei, that is vestibulospinal tract, arising from olivary nucleus, that is olivospinal tract, and so these are the extrapyramidal tracts. All these pyramidal tracts as well as extrapyramidal tract converge on through interneurons or directly over the anterior horn cells in the anterior gray column, and these anterior horn cells supply directly the motor impulses to the muscles through the alpha motor neurons, and these tracts also control the gamma motor neurons, which again have the coordinated function with the skeletal muscle contraction. Next is you can see the difference between the extrapyramidal system and the pyramidal system. First one is extrapyramidal system. This is the older system which develops earlier in the human body. Pyramidal system develops later on, and this is the newer motor system which develops late. The myelination of the extrapyramidal system starts before the birth. Myelination starts after the birth, and that is completed in the 2 to 3 years in the pyramidal system. The function of this extrapyramidal system function starts even before the birth. In the newborn baby, you can see the distal muscles and distal joints which are working. The function here starts in the pyramidal system after 2 to 3 years. Fine movement of the fingers, so that the child can write A, B, C, D or 1, 2, 3. These start after 2 to 3 years. The extrapyramidal system is the polysynaptic multi-channel pathway through different lower cortical centers controlled by the cortex and the cerebellum, and the pyramidal system is the direct pathway from the cerebral cortex through the pyramidal corticobulbar fibers and corticospinal fibers to the lower motor neuron. The conduction in the extrapyramidal system is much faster. Conduction in the pyramidal system is slower. The regulatory influence over the reflex action is there for extrapyramidal system. For the pyramidal system, this initiates the skillful, fine, voluntary activity. For the extrapyramidal system, controls the associated automatic movement. When the person is walking, the movements of the upper limbs is there. These are automatic associated movements. These are because of the extrapyramidal system. The precision, accuracy and fineness of the small muscles of the distal joints, this is because of the pyramidal system. Gross synergistic movement of the big muscles and the proximal joints is because of extrapyramidal system, and the pyramidal system controls the distal muscles and distal joints. The extrapyramidal system also gives background for purposeful, skillful activity. The pyramidal system influences the spatial reflexes. The extrapyramidal system also has the function of postural adjustment, posture, and that controls the autonomic visceral activity also. So these are the different functions and differences between the extrapyramidal system and pyramidal system. The one example you can see is when you are passing a thread through the needle. In the one hand, you have to hold the needle, which should be steady. That steadiness is because of the extrapyramidal system, which makes the one hand steady, and through the other hand you are holding the thread and you pass this thread through the head of the needle, which is very fine, and this fine movement is because of the pyramidal system. So in this way both pyramidal system and extrapyramidal system work simultaneously, so that the smooth execution of the voluntary movements is there. Okay.